Kadarius Toney might be one of the most frustrating first-round receivers of the last decade. He was drafted for highlight reel players who delivered more headaches than touchdowns. Coming out of college, he was referred to as the human joystick, and he was drafted 20th overall by the Giants in 2021. He left Florida as one of the most elusive playmakers in college football, but in 3 seasons, he's only played 33 games, recorded 82 catches for 760 yards and 3 touchdowns. Hamstring issues, ankle injuries, and questionable focus on football kept him from ever becoming a consistent threat. It seemed like he wanted to be a rapper more than he wanted to play football. Upon his arrival with the Chiefs, he had 3 drops in the season opener, with one of those leading to a pick 6. A stint with the Browns in 2024 lasted just 3 games, produced 0 catches, a muffed punt, and a taunting penalty that derailed a comeback effort. For a top 20 pick, Toney's delivered more what-ifs than production. Football is back. Get in on the action with Underdog Fantasy. Deposit just $5 and they'll give you $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with code SPORTSCODE. You can build a lineup, pick whether players will go higher or lower on their stats, and watch the games play out. Hit the link in the description or the pinned comment to get started. Please play responsibly. Now back to the video. And next up, we got Jalen Reagor. Philadelphia drafted Jalen Reagor 21st overall in 2020. Looking for a field stretcher to spark their passing game, coming out of TCU, he was advertised as a burner who could take the top off a defense. But his name is remembered more for who went next. Justin Jefferson. In 2 years with the Eagles, Reagor played 28 games and posted just 64 catches for 695 yards and 3 touchdowns. Costly drops, shaky hands, and inconsistent route running turned him from a starter to a liability. By 2022, Philly cut their losses, trading him to Minnesota, where he only managed 8 receptions before becoming a career backup that bounced between practice squads. For a first-round receiver, his legacy is less about production and more about being the pick right before a superstar. The Titans drafted Treylon Burks 18th overall in 2022 with the inevitable task of replacing A.J. Brown. At Arkansas, he was a versatile playmaker who lined up everywhere and made defenses pay with his size. But through 2 seasons in Tennessee, Burks only managed 49 catches for 665 yards and 1 touchdown. Injuries have kept him sidelined, and when he has played, he struggled to separate from defenders and establish consistency in the offense. And then came training camp in 2025. Burks went down with a fractured collarbone, and 2 days later the Titans waived him with an injury designation. And if unclaimed, he'll revert to IR before reaching an injury settlement. And before them came Charles Rogers. Detroit drafted Charles Rogers 2nd overall in 2003. Banking on the 6'3" Michigan State star to be the homegrown franchise receiver. In college, he was a dominant deep threat who broke records in the Big Ten and looked like a can't-miss talent. Instead, his NFL career collapsed almost immediately. Rogers played just 15 games in 3 seasons, finishing with 36 catches for 440 yards and 4 touchdowns. A broken collarbone cut short each of his first 2 years, and in year 3, a suspension for multiple failed drug tests effectively ended his time in Detroit. Taken ahead of Quentin Johnston, Rogers went from local hero to one of the biggest busts in league history. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot more NFL content coming. And then came Kevin White. Chicago grabbed Kevin White 7th overall in 2015, betting on a 6'3" West Virginia star with 4.35 speed to be their next game-breaking wideout. On paper, he was one of the most explosive prospects in the class, but injuries erased his career before it started. White missed his entire rookie season with a shin injury, then suffered setback after setback in the years that followed. Across parts of 6 seasons with the Bears, 49ers, and Saints, he appeared in just 30 games and caught 28 passes for 397 yards. For all the hype about his size and speed, White finished his career without a single touchdown. Jacksonville took Justin Blackmon 5th overall in 2012, hoping the Oklahoma State star would become a dynamic playmaker at the next level. In college, he was unstoppable. 253 catches, 3,564 yards, and 40 touchdowns in 3 seasons. This won him back-to-back Biletnikoff awards. But his NFL career never got off the ground. In just 2 seasons, Blackmon caught 93 passes for 1,280 yards and 6 touchdowns. This is before he obtained multiple substance abuse suspensions that derailed his career. His last NFL game was in 2013 and he never returned. Up next is Laquon Treadwell. Minnesota drafted Treadwell 23rd overall in 2016, expecting a physical, NFL-ready receiver out of Ole Miss who could contribute immediately. Coming out of college, he was seen as polished and pro-ready, but Treadwell never lived up to the hype. In his rookie season, he caught just 1 pass in 9 games. In over 8 years across multiple teams, he totaled 110 receptions, 1,226 yards and 5 touchdowns. After being cut from the Vikings, he bounced from multiple teams like the Jaguars, Falcons, Seahawks, and Ravens, and he was viewed more as a journeyman than a weapon. And now to Corey Coleman. Cleveland selected Coleman 15th overall in 2016, making him the first receiver taken in the draft. At Baylor, he had won the Biletnikoff Award and was expected to be an instant playmaker. But in 3 seasons, Coleman caught just 61 passes for 789 yards and 5 touchdowns. Drops and injuries kept him off the field, and he never became a reliable option for the Browns. After 2 years, he requested a trade, and Cleveland traded him away, and he bounced around the league without starting more than 3 games in any season. By age 25, Coleman was out the NFL entirely. And next up, we got Corey Davis. Tennessee drafted Davis 5th overall in 2017, expecting their new true #1 receiver. At Western Michigan, he put up 5,278 receiving yards, rewriting the NCAA record books and drawing comparisons to elite prospects. But in the NFL, Davis never reached that level. Over 6 seasons, he totaled 273 catches for 3,879 yards and 17 touchdowns. These numbers are solid for a role player, but not a top 5 pick. He never posted a 1,000-yard season, and injuries kept him from sustaining momentum year to year. Davis retired before the 2023 season without ever reaching those college glory days again. Cincinnati then drafted John Ross in that same draft 9th overall for one thing: elite speed. His 4.22 40-yard dash at the combine set an NFL record and made him one of the most electric prospects in the class. But that speed never translated to consistent production. Across 5 seasons, Ross caught just 62 passes for 957 yards and 11 touchdowns. Injuries constantly sidelined him, and when he was on the field, drops and poor route running limited his impact. Ross spent more time on injured reserve than as a starter, becoming one of the clearest examples of combine hype failing to match NFL performance. And now we're on to N'Keal Harry. The New England Patriots drafted Harry 32nd overall in the 2019 NFL Draft, making him the first wide receiver Bill Belichick ever took in the first round. At Arizona State, he was a dominant physical target with size, strong hands, and contested catch ability. But in the NFL, Harry never separated from defenders. Over 4 seasons, he totaled just 64 catches for 714 yards and 5 touchdowns. Injuries, inconsistency, and poor scheme fit kept him buried on the Patriots depth chart. His position then changed from wide receiver to tight end, but nothing came of that. In 2022, New England traded him to Chicago, where he barely saw the field, leaving him to not being on a roster as of right now. And next up is Quentin Johnston. The Chargers drafted Johnston 21st overall in 2023, hoping to give Justin Herbert a big explosive target. At TCU, he was a jump ball specialist with the speed to stretch defenses and create big plays. His first 2 NFL seasons have been a mixed bag. In his rookie year, he caught 38 passes for 431 yards and 2 touchdowns. And in 2024, he improved his production, but drops remained a major issue. He had 7 drops and a 7.7 drop rate, which is considered high, especially for a first-round pick. Poor route timing and lack of physicality at the catch point kept fans questioning his reliability. Not to mention the game he single-handedly lost against Green Bay in 2023. He was drafted to be Keenan Allen's successor, but it just hasn't been working out. It could be too early to call him a bust, but at the same time, you either got it or you don't. Johnston has to clean up the drops and refine his game to fully live up to his first-round billing. And here we have Sammy Watkins. Buffalo drafted Watkins 4th overall in 2014 after a dominant career at Clemson. They traded up multiple picks to secure the dynamic receiver, and he entered the NFL as one of the most hyped wideout prospects in a decade. Watkins had one good season in 2015 with only 13 games played, posting 1,047 yards and 9 touchdowns. Injuries and inconsistency prevented him from sustaining that level. Over 9 seasons with 6 different teams, he totaled 364 receptions for 5,384 yards and 34 touchdowns. Again, like I said before, numbers like these are solid for a role player, but far, far below expectations for a top 5 pick. And moving on, we got Troy Williamson. Minnesota drafted Troy 7th overall in 2005 to replace Randy Moss. A nearly impossible task, but they hoped his 4.32 speed could help him fill that void. Instead, his career was defined by drop passes and inconsistent play. Over 5 seasons, Williamson caught just 87 passes for 1,131 yards and 4 touchdowns. His inability to track deep balls, the very skill he was drafted for, kept him from making a lasting impact. For a top 10 pick, Williamson became one of the most disappointing wide receivers of the 2000s. Now let's talk about Jahan Dotson. Washington drafted drafted Dotson 16th overall in 2022. Hoping for a polished, reliable route runner with strong hands, at Penn State he was productive and technically sound, giving the Commanders confidence he could contribute immediately. His rookie season was okay, nothing too crazy, but he did have mid quarterback play. He tallied 35 receptions for 523 yards and 7 touchdowns, but he only played in 12 games. But in year 2, this was a step backward. Over 17 games, Dotson tallied 49 catches for 518 yards and 4 touchdowns, showing a dip in production despite staying healthy. He was quickly traded to the Eagles after only 2 years with Washington, and his production dropped once more. He was active for all 17 games, but only tallied 216 yards and 0 touchdowns. I guess you can call him a role player, if that, but for the 16th overall pick, he just hasn't really shown much. And lastly, let's talk about Reggie Williams. Jacksonville drafted Reggie Williams 9th overall in 2004. He was a 6'4" physical receiver out of Washington, expecting to be their long-term #1 receiver. But over 5 seasons, he never reached 700 yards in a single year. His career totals of 189 receptions for 2,322 yards and 18 touchdowns. These were very, very underwhelming numbers for a top 10 pick. After one decent season in 2007 where he had 10 touchdowns, Williams quickly faded out of the league, remembered as another high draft pick who never came close to the hype. And that's it. If you enjoyed this, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next NFL video.